The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. Today is Tuesday, July 22nd, and it's a little after 11 o'clock in the morning. And once again, this is C.A. Newry, and I shall be your host for today, right? Joining us today are representatives from the Association of the Bahamas Marinas and Bahamas Yacht Brokers and Agents Association to discuss the impact of the recent legislative amendments affecting the industry they are associated with. In studio, we have Peter Maury, we have Obiama Knowles, and Khalil Bethel. Now, there's some, my words now, watch Aaron try and correct me. There's some controversy. I'm going to use that strong word. There's some controversy about the recent amendments, the recent fees, the recent taxes, where people in the industry are concerned. They are concerned because they say they weren't really consulted. They are concerned because they say this isn't working. It's actually negatively impacting tourism. And I want to understand what you mean. What you mean is negatively impacting tourism? Because if it's negatively impacted tourism, the tourism officials would have known, right? So I need to have a narrative. I need to have a narrative of who are the men, who happen to be men, who are the men in the studio, what their affiliation is in the marina business, right? And then I want to have a narrative of what your concerns are. So I'll have each one of you go around the circle. Just basically introduce yourself and tell your history of being in the business, years, what you do, explain the title, and then we'll start from there. Just go around the circle. We start from you.
Okay, Peter Maury. I'm basically a president now and the founder of Association of Bahamas Marinas. I also run Bay Street Marina. I've been in the industry for 35 years, ran Hurricane Hole, Atlantis, developed and built Bay Street Marina, and 500-ton captain and charter broker. I mean, just about everything in this industry. I've done all parts of it.
All right, my name is Khalil Bethel. I'm a yacht captain, born and raised in the Bahamas. Started in the yachting industry around 2010. Worked home and abroad. Traveled pretty much almost all of the 7 seas. Trained in the UK and in Spain, and that's me.
Good day, all. Obiama Knowles. I am currently the Vice Marina Association and also Dockmaster for the Atlantis Marina. I've worked in the marina industry for 20-odd years. I've operated the Atlantis Marina, assistant dockmaster in the Atlantis Marina. I also worked as a yacht agent for a number of years, which essentially is someone who assists the yacht when they come into country, do clearances, provide them with outside services such as transportation, customs clearances of packages, you name it, anything that the yacht would require while they're in country. And currently the dockmaster for the Atlantis Marina.
So currently, all three of you are members of the Association of Bahamas Marinas?
Correct.
Correct.
So exactly what is the Association of Bahamas Marinas? Why did it came into being?
Well, in 2001, we had some. That's why this goes back, a couple of decades. I mean, we've been trying to affect policy in the country, to assist Bahamians getting in this industry. I started in '91 and saw opportunities in the industry for local Bahamians. I mean, the boats come in. There's so many shoreside and shore support businesses that are available that, Obi and I can't do our jobs in the marina if these boats don't get what they need, I mean, obviously we have Khalil sitting here as a captain and he can attest to it. It's not just about what the boat just coming in and doing whatever. I mean, it has to have all kinds of different technicians, mechanics, provisioners. I mean, the list goes on and on, florists, everything. So when we started this for the marinas themselves, and we thought, well, this would be a good opportunity for us to come in, get together as an industry, because we operate a little differently than most hospitality businesses in that a boat will come into the country, plan to be here for it's winter, so they can't be in, say, up north or in the Med, so they come over to the Bahamas and they spend their winters here, and they'll be here for 3 or 4 months until weathers change and stuff, and there they go on to their next destination. So in the meantime, they're looking for, I guess, to cruise around the Bahamas, and they need all of these things. And as an industry, we need to, or as marina operators, we need to help provide that.
So just to sort of get a sense, there's a marina industry that sort of sits auxiliary to, works with, intersects with the yachting industry, right? And the boating industry.
Absolutely.
And marinas receive yachts, provide for yachts, maintenance, technical, clerical, administrative services, like you say, provisioning, whether it's retailers, wholesalers, then marine maintenance on the boat. And so marinas, the marina industry is an industry to itself, and it intersects with these other industries.
I would say call it the maritime industry.
Okay.
So the marinas themselves provide a home base for the vessel.
Okay.
But what we also try to assist where we cannot do, or what we cannot do, is connect them with locals who can provide services. So you have some boaters that'll come into the country and, like Peter said, if they're staying here for an extended period and they have guests on board, they have to get, some folks will go to the grocery store themselves. Some folks, where they're exceptionally busy trying to cater to the guests on board, will hire somebody locally to go out and do shopping for them.
Like, just for an instance, when I first came onto the party organizing scene, I was like, man, well, who's using, right? Like, who are their customers? And then I realized, right, like, it's not just Bahamians. And I watched Below Deck, the show. All of us may be familiar with that by now, right? Oh, they are providing resources for guests in the country so that they could entertain them and have themed events and stuff like that.
Correct.
Quick question. Go ahead.
If I could just interject, I'm operating as a captain now, and just to back up on what Peter and Obiama said, yachts are pretty much floating hotels that deliver, some joke around and say 7-star service because it's above 5-star. We got the vessel that I work on, we have about 23 full-time crew. So it is quite a big operation. And we offer 24-hour service to whoever is on board, whether that be the owner, guests, his family, or friends.
Well, let's bring this down to the Bahamas. And I appreciate all of the narratives about the yachts and the marina, but I need to understand Bahamian jobs. I'm not sure what type of Bahamian job is plugged into this industry. And I want you to list a number of jobs that
simple.
Bahamians can have or are doing at this present time.
So that's fairly simple to answer. So a vessel coming into the country, like I said, if they're going into a marina, they dock at a marina. So you have a dock attendant that will greet them, assist them with the lines and tile. They then have to check in to pay for the slip. So they go into the marina office, which is like your front desk, and then they check. From there, they may need a washer or someone to assist them in cleaning the boat. A lot of these boats have full-time crew, but they may have a quick turnaround with guests, so they look for local assistance. So we then will recommend a local person who can help them with washing down the outside of the boat. Sometimes they also ask for someone to assist their girls on the interior. So you may have somebody that joins them to help them do tidying up on the inside of the boat. From there, the guest normally does not arrive on the boat if it's one of the larger yacht per se. So they fly in. So then you have contact at the airport, whether it's private or
SBO.
commercial. From there, you have transportation services. So you're either a taxi operator or a limousine operator is then transporting that guest from the FPO airport to the marina. Like I said earlier, groceries. So they go to the grocery store and they purchase locally from the grocery store. So you have a packing person who will then assist them. Normally, if you go into any of the major grocery stores and you see someone with 3, 4, 5 trolleys, that's most likely someone providing, food provisions for a yacht. So you have the individual packing boys who then benefit from that, because a lot of times, let's say they go to Super Value and you get all of those quality stamps spring up. Those persons don't know what to do with that, so they hand that over to the packing boy. Then again,
And
transportation.
they tip
Of course.
reasonably well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In most cases. Some cases,
Yeah.
maybe not. But, in most cases they do. So there's the benefit for that. There's the taxi service or car rental service, which again is all local, where they, if they stay here for an extended period, they may see the benefit in just renting a car instead of just taking taxi back and forth. Of both of those touching. And then they come back to the marina. The guy who runs the dock then assists them in getting the provisions back to the boat. Further from that, you also have something may break on the boat. They're mechanical. Things break all the time. So they have to import
Mechanical
their
and
parts.
salt water.
Exactly.
Right.
So you
So
And
imagine
then, and then you
that.
sort of have above the waterline repairs. You may have radios. You may have technical equipment,
We-
stereo equipment breakdown.
we have a guy that deals with paint and gel coat repairs.
Bahamian?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Bahamian. And I can tell you this. I worked with a boat when I was an agent that came in and they had hit the side of the boat. Big piece of fiberglass chunk and whatever epoxy stuff out of the side of the boat. And this guy that I provided to assist them, once he was done, it looked like nothing happened. So
And we talk about real work, right? We talk
Skilled-
about people
yeah,
need to be
skilled-
certified
skilled
to match
tradesmen.
insurance needs. Yeah, good stuff.
I've provided carpenters for yachts to assist them with carpentry work, welding, mechanic services. Khalil can tell you.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of
AC.
repairs. Exactly. The AC
if-
technicians.
in the summer right
on these
now,
boats and
we
stuff
can't
like
find
that.
enough.
And these guys are absolutely slammed busy. Like they cannot keep up with the work.
Bahamians?
Bahamians. This is all Bahamians.
We had
When they come here, it's so a lot of people, like I say this a lot to individuals who don't work in the maritime industry. When you look at a boat from the outside, you're just like, oh, that's a pretty boat. But you don't understand what all goes into it, all of the people that are touched and it affects. Because if you think about it, if this person rents a car, they gotta put fuel in the car. So they go into the gas station. Some case may be.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the boat itself.
Right,
There's so
all of
much
the
that's-
auxiliary.
there's so much that's touched on that.
And the point of this was to give a sense of the ecosystem,
Yeah.
like where Bahamians are located in it, and even though they're not on the water, how intimate, right? How integral they are in providing these
Yeah,
services.
we know individuals who have started laundry cleaning services to assist the boats in doing their linens and stuff like that. We know people who have grown florist businesses, to provide flowers simply for the boats. So there is so much auxiliary business that.
And
Yeah, one question. I want to quickly ask Khalil Bethel, because he's a Bahamian boat captain. Are there any Bahamians servicing any of these yachts?
Yes. There's quite a large group of us now. Most people decide to stay local because, as Obi said, there's a lot of work here. Like there's a lot. I've decided to go abroad just so that I could, experience the world, get the name of the Bahamas out there. The people that I've worked for, if we do end up in the Bahamas, the same comment. The Bahamas is a beautiful place. They would love to come back. So it's all glowing reviews when they actually come to the Bahamas. So I'm pretty much a self-appointed fly carrier, getting the name out as a Bahamian yacht captain.
all right, so now, Newry used the word controversy, right? He loaded it. He says a heavy word. I think what's happening is it's a natural part of policy creation, right? And that maybe there's a breakdown in the feedback process, right? Like in the loop. The question I want to ask is, and this is how I framed it out. Can you outline the fee increases and policy changes implemented from 1st of July 2022 to July 2025, and basically or briefly how those changes have impacted the industry, the broad industry, and then your sort of specific sector as they've been implemented and as they have unfolded?
Well, I can certainly. The 2022 was that's when we had the 4% and they introduced the VAT.
So that's 4%.
4% was a charter fee. We were
Okay.
already collecting $5 million a year going into that in charter fees. So the idea was to increase it and do a better job at making sure that everybody was paying for it. And we actually, as the Marine Association, we rolled out a portal because at the time it was nothing online. So depending on where the boat was in the country, they may not be able to just walk into, a local
port
office and pay
department.
it. So we put it online. It was very successful. We had the highest turnout for the collection of fees. The idea was to increase the fees so that the boats could doing charters could easily pay it. But at that point, VAT was added in. It was suggested that they go and file for VAT, which incurs a whole slew of different implications that for foreign yacht owners and their own tax jurisdictions, like, caused a huge problem. Like, people were like, whoa, hold on a second, I don't want to register for this. This could mean differences in my own country if this becomes part of what we're doing, and I mean, you got to respect that these are citizens in other countries and they're all over the world. So that we got a big pushback on that, and the idea was, what we said, look, let's keep it the way it is and just raise it, but then do a better job of collecting it, which all the mariners were assisting with that.
Okay,
And
so
that was.
At the July 1st, 2022 fee increase, prior to that moment, the association had recommended to the government that, yes, we want to increase the revenue we're bringing in. Let's increase the fee and improve our enforcement and collection.
Correct.
Well, yeah,
Right.
and part of that it would be earmarked to go back into the infrastructure of the industry and training for Bahamians. A program that more of our more. I can tell you, Obi and I run marinas. There's no way in God's green earth that the two of us together could handle all the needs of these boats. USSA did a study when they capped the taxes in Florida. A 50-meter boat, on average, uses 41 people. It has 14 people employed on board, but it uses 41 people to service that boat in the community, wherever it is.
Okay, I get you.
So-
14
so-
employed, but 41 people generating
Do all
revenue.
the other
Yeah,
jobs and
yeah.
all the things that Khalil's mentioning and Obi and I talked about. Like, I don't have the time in the day, nor does he, nor does the crew on board to do all of these
Right, the
things.
marina couldn't take on the responsibility of providing those
Well,
services.
first of all, we
In
don't
general.
want to. I mean,
Yeah.
there's too much liability into that for us, but we have local, like,
So what was the
flowers
impact?
and all that kind of stuff and groceries. I mean, we don't want to deal with
Right.
that.
So what was the impact of the addition or the implementation of the 10% VAT? Did you see an immediate decrease in charters? Did you see an immediate
Yes.
decrease in revenue?
Yeah, the industry and what we got back, these were from legitimate, international brokerage companies. They saw 40 to 47% decrease in booking requests for the Bahamas.
All right, and then by the
But understand, part of that was fees and the implications of taxes, the way that it's filed. Specifically, the owner of a 242-foot yacht said to me, he goes, I'm not putting my, the ownership of the boat and everything else in your jurisdiction because I don't know who's going to have access to it. And that was the biggest thing. Some people were just afraid, but that's their right. I mean, they have to live in their own countries and they have exposure to that.
So the next major fee or increase in policy shift was.
Before you get there,
Okay, go on.
Let me interrupt you, Aaron. Did the government still charge the 10% tax in 2022, or they
Yes.
stopped that and
Yes.
just
No, it was they had to. the boats had to register on the VA, on Department of Inland Revenue. They had, which was very, very difficult. I mean, toward the end, it was taking 2 to 3 months for us to get a TIN number for the boat. It
Right,
was-
and so we're talking about charter boats, right?
yeah.
Okay, not private yachts. We're talking about charter services.
Yeah, and
Okay,
the
yeah,
problem
yeah.
is some people
Okay.
didn't understand it, and even in Inland Revenue. So we had, because the marinas were helping the captains and the management companies submit these because we want them to be successful because they're our guests,
Mm-hmm.
and all the people that we deal with, that's their livelihood. So we were assisting in this effort, and I can tell you, I mean, it was we had people in Inland Revenue saying, well, we need their NIB. And it's like, what? But they're here for 3 months. They don't have NIB.
And
Well, then we can't approve this.
All right.
I mean, even a side note from that, as a Bahamian dealing with inland revenue, NIB, any government agency, we have a hard time. It's a long process.
Mm-hmm.
So to have a guest coming into our country, having
And
them go through that turmoil.
Doesn't
is-
even understand
And
the
the
system.
mode of arrival, are you coming in by boat and you?
Well, no, disregard that.
Yeah.
Just basic level of human interaction, like
With the
when we deal with the government.
I got you.
It's painful.
I get you.
I do thank the people that do well and do their best to assist, but most times it's painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the yacht agencies or companies that would do agent work for the boats had to take on that responsibility because seemingly it was thought that, okay, well, just throw it to the captain and he'll,
Yeah.
deal with that. And the problem is not understanding the customer and what they have to do on a day-to-day basis. You are there to provide a service for your owner, guests, or clients, and so that's taken up a bulk of your time. You're also trying to manage a team of people who live in a confined space as well. So that's taking up a lot of your time. So a lot of the local agencies had to then step in and try to help boats with that.
All right. Let's fast forward to 1st of July 2024. There was a new. 2023, an increase of fees and policy shift. What was the increase or what were the policy shifts and the resulting fee increases?
So 2023 was when the government had shifted the cost for entering the country by
Okay.
vessel. Many years had a relatively low cost for entering the country. So it was understandable in a sense that the government would want to see an increase in there, to help with collections and more money into the government
All right.
coffers. It was a bit of a hit because prior to that, you had vessels that were under 34 feet would pay $150, and anything over 34 feet would pay $300. That is really a low price. So in 2023, they rolled out a fee schedule, breaking down a number of different size brackets for boats. So even though the introduction of it initially, it threw people back a bit, it's like, oh, you're increasing your costs so much. It still made sense because it went from anything under 34, and then they did 2 brackets. Now, mind you, cruising permits were always good for up to 12 months if the vessel stayed in country. You would also have the ability to leave and come back using that same cruising permit within a 3-month period for that fee. So we understood the increase in the fees. So like I said, it went from up to 300 to a vessel under 34 feet would be either 150 for 3 months or 300 for the full year period. Vessels from 35 to 99 feet became another price. From 100 to 150 became another price. From 150 to 200 became another price. So there were some substantial fee increases in there. I think the highest end was $2,000 for vessels over 200 feet, but it made sense because you are now classing the customers. You're breaking out the customers into a class that made sense. A person who owns a 200-footer versus a person who owns a 50-footer, they're two totally different sets of people.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know the difference between a Nubu crowd and a KFC crowd.
They're two totally different sets of people. So in a sense, it sort of made sense. Most people were accepting of it. You know, of course, you had the early on people were like, oh my goodness. But it made sense.
Okay, so we're going to a quick break, but in 30 seconds, what was the problem? It would have made sense.
How did it impact? What was the...
Well, actually, we didn't, you know, we didn't see a big problem with it. We, like Obi said, we understood. So that wasn't a major problem. It's just, you got to give us time to roll it out, you know?
Okay, so we'll continue this conversation.
Get the message right.
We'll continue this conversation. Since we have several phone calls waiting, and we have some text to read also, but we want to continue this narrative to find out what exactly is your concern. So on the other side of the break, we want to hear the concerns. Where did the concerns kick in? And explain what you would recommend. This is Guardian Radio AM. We have members of the Association of Bahamas Marinas in studio, and we're going over the changes in the laws and amendments and fees and trying to understand what is their concern. We'll be right back.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 9 News Smart Talk all day.
Hey kids, it's back. The Jeff Rogers Summer Basketball Camp, July 28th to August 8th at the Kendall Isaacs Gym. Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. for boys and girls, 5 to 18. Hear and learn from the NBA superstars past and present, including our very own Buddy Hield of the Golden State Warriors, Klay Thompson of the Dallas Mavericks, former Laker great Michael Sweet Bells Thompson, another great among the point guards back in the day, Muggsy Bogues, and many others. Application forms now at the Bahamas Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, Tonic Williams, Darling Highway. Call 341-4021 or check the website, jeffrogersbasketballcamp.com.
Always on the go? Missed the show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Good morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry. On the other side of the break, we were delving into a sort of year-by-year assessment of the fee increases and policy shifts in the boating, yachting, marina, maritime industries. We're going to fast forward now to the implementation 2025, 1st of July, right? We saw an announcement of a new schedule of fees. There was a shift in policy. And so we're going to just ask you to outline, I guess, the most important or detrimental or profound changes and the impact on the broader industry.
So the fee change in 2025 July was implemented. The difficulty with the fee change, because like I said before the break, the fee schedule that came into place in 2023, even though it was a major increase, initial pushback.
It was palatable.
It was palatable once people understood the reason and they saw how it was broken out. In 2023, they created a 5-tier bracket pricing. In 2025, it's now gone back to a 3-tier.
Okay.
And the issues that we face basically is there were certain privileges that were included within the cruising permit fee for a vessel. So one, the fishing permit had always been included in a cruising permit. Something new that was brought into place that was never in place was an anchorage fee.
Okay.
And also There was a fee for tenders that was just implemented. So what that is...
Hold on. But the tender is when I can't moor, like I can't get to a berth, so I use my small boat, I use my dinghy boat to bring my people to land. I have to pay a fee for that as well?
You do. Now, they've categorized it as any vessel that is over 25 feet.
Okay.
But the thing is, most of the yachts, they have like 30 feet and above.
The tenders are that size.
So they're all getting hit with it.
Okay.
So what we've found is that where you had an inclusive fee or inclusive fees before, they're now breaking out things that were included or complimentary in those inclusive fees and charging the individuals separately. And it's almost... The pushback that we're getting is that the guests are now feeling that they're being nickeled and dimed.
I can be honest, I don't know nothing about boating. I mean, I love the water and I could float like a boat. But when I see in the new schedule for 2025, the fees above cover the cost of the cruising permit, we get that. Payable custom fees, we get that. Attendance and travel expenses per Regulation 7. What does that mean? Because if you are a customs officer or immigration officer, right? Like, why am I then paying you to attend the scene? Like, isn't that a part of your job already? And then overtime and travel expenses with regard to the attendance of an immigration officer. For me, this don't make no. You might as well tell me you sending raccoons to come check my boat, because what do you mean I have to pay overtime and travel expenses? You couldn't schedule that in. Like when you do the monthly schedule, you didn't schedule that in? You don't have enough officers working? I just saying, I could imagine people in the industry, their response, because I'm like, hey, does this make sense? What is this? And is this one of the concerns you all have, or is this just standard for the industry?
It is a concern, the way it's addressed. But, because we don't have anyone from customs here, I would say that, it is a part of the concerns.
The biggest concern for us is there's no clear fee. It should be, it should say, listen, attendance is $50. But
Yeah.
what we were told is depending on the rank of the officer, depending on what day it is, so this is where, and it's not us. You have to understand, it's the guest that clears in with the officer. So they come into the office and they're like, hey, man, I was charged this, and there's that. But my friend was charged this. So why is this different?
The guests don't speak Bahamianese.
No.
That's what it is.
But from a vessel operator perspective, if there was some clarity on or continuity that they could include with all of those fees, it would be no problem, we'll pay. But we don't know what those fees are.
It just fluctuates.
It changes
it
from
could-
officer to
Yeah,
officer.
as a captain, he has to account to the owner and the accountant and the management company. Like, look, this is what the expense was.
Yeah.
So when we say, well, it might be this or it might be that, like, his job is at stake here. It's like any other corporation. You have to explain your expenses. you
Yeah,
know?
and if I have a line item that says customs attendance and it says $100 today, and I have the same line item a week later, and it says the same thing, but it's $250, it's not going to be a question of how did they come up with the fee. It's going to be, is that man actually being transparent?
We have a caller who's been waiting for a while. Let me engage this caller. Guardian Radio AM with CA Go ahead.
I appreciate you, Mr. Newry. Good morning, Ms. Green, and good morning to your guest, Poppy. Y'all can hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
hear
We
me?
can hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't know where to start off, but this thing with the, excuse me, like how I talk, not too smart, but this thing with the would be talking about what they doing. The cruise. You mentioned cruise for the local store. That's just for the visitors.
Okay, so there are many sort of aspects to the industry we're approaching. There's kind of two levels. You have charter, which is commercial, and those charters may be operated by a local company or a foreign company with Bahamians in it, right?
Even Bahamian owners, you mean?
Yeah,
right?
right. And then we're talking about people who are just cruising, right? So it's
Okay.
non-commercial.
It's a two-part of it. Listen,
Yeah.
this my little dumb way of thinking from my head, and this story being on. They've been talking about this like for a month, 2 months now. It's hot, and I'm glad you're the one who, you and Mr. Newry, them talking about it, right? Like he said, I've been holding long. First, before I said the Anchorage Free, do they do that anywhere in the Caribbean? This is a question for association.
No.
Do they do that anywhere in the Caribbean or in
No,
Florida?
it's not. In our
Like
competing countries, absolutely, yeah, there's none.
Okay, let me tell you why I asked that, right? And Ms. Green tell me, say it's a two-part thing. Then the part with the Bahamian part, the locals, the business persons, who in the business and who could afford to pay it, I want to include them with it. I thought they'd mean the little average fishing boat person or something. They talking business now with the cruise people. Sound like that's what yours.
Now, not the cruise port, not cruise ships.
No,
You're talking about cruisers.
Cruisers, then.
Yeah.
Okay, not the cruise port. The people who come and do little fishing and things and stuff.
Yeah.
And contribute with their yacht and thing. And like the man say, it help the washers to make money and the people who do the flowers and everything and different things. So that's a good thing, and that's good to know that Anchorage fees be charged other places too. So I want to say thanks to the association for helping to make this money to be able to trickle down like to the washers people, the flowers people, and the people who selling their flitters and different things when these people come through. I think knowing that it's a two-part thing, like I say, if the Bahamian people, a business person who in this business could afford to pay it and a part of the association, they should pay it. It sounds like the gentleman is saying it's no problem with paying it. Somebody used the word nickel and dime or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That's probably me. You know, I'm from Acklands.
Yeah, they feel like they being nickel and dime in the mind. Sound like he's saying they either moving the how do you say it up? Like the prices, they don't want it to be fluctuating. They just want a set thing. I don't know if the government could maybe explain more and don't make it difficult for them to feel that way, that they being nickel and dime. Make them understand why it is fluctuating, why they doing it, and even if it ain't right to do it, then fix it and fix the problem. But to say my dumb opinion is that, or my small opinion, I should say, is that from I hear the story going on, like I say, I appreciate the business what they bringing in, but I don't know if Mr. Association could tell me if like how the Bahamas, like Jamaica, Dominican Republic, everywhere special in their own which way. Which one of them other places in the world we could substitute for the Bahamas? Because why I say that, right? I feel like all of these countries are special, and when they come, even in Florida, when they have these laws and things just to go catch fish like that, and we might could do it over here for free or what's pay to do it. There's rules and regulations. I feel like them foreigners or the visitors who come in here, who we appreciate spending the money, they should pay.
Okay, Papa, I got you. Listen, and let me sum it up. All right, but let me sum it up quickly, Papa. I think the concern is not like, hey, we don't want pay and nobody wants to pay.
Yeah, that's not the concern.
You know, I've been thinking about it for the months I've been hearing it. I think that they're asking for more coherence, right? Like more clarity and coherence in the fee structures themselves and in how they are rolled out and in the consultation process. Like he said, with the 2023 fees, they understood why, they understood the rationale. I think one of the things I wrote down to throw out at them is, are you going to ask for a moratorium on fees? Like, if you can't get them to roll back things that they've already done, would you ask for a moratorium on fees for, say, 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think the biggest, you bring up a very important issue, because the biggest thing about with this new frequent digital cruising card is, which gives you a 2-year, everybody's saying, you know, because our fees are changing year after year, they're like, well, if we go and buy this for the next 2 years, what's the guarantee that it won't change next year? And then they have to do something else, because remember, people already have a cruising permit for 2025. It changed in July. Some of their cruising permits run beyond July. So when they came back in the next time, they had to pay the difference, even though they had paid
already
the first time.
Yeah.
They came within the entry. So they had to pay the difference. So they're like, so what's to stop next year
It's
when I come back
happening
on my
again.
frequent digital, I got to pay the extra. And this is like, we've lost the confidence of the consumer. And this is what our, you know, this is the jux of our complaint. It's like, we got to establish something here and say, look, remember these boats that come in, they're not just coming into Nassau, which is Cruise Ship Central. They're going to all of our family islands, and they're spending their money there and bringing an opportunity. And I can tell you, the marinas are just as big a part as the vacation properties in these out islands as for income into these local communities. And it's very important.
I also want to do
In some
a.
cases, they connect, though, because you
Yeah.
can have a boater who rents a property
That's
in
true.
the out island And if that
They'll rent a house
if
and
that
come in
property
their
has a
boats and
dock,
everything, yeah.
they'll come in with their boat, and so that's double.
Okay, we have a number of phone calls. Also, want to do a compare and contrast to our immediate competitor. You know, we have the Dominican Republic, we have Cuba, Cayman Islands was next door to us. I want to know what are our fees in contrast to their fees, and with these increases, is this comparable, or because you mentioned we're nickel and diamond, right? I want to know what these other Caribbean nations doing. But let's go to the first phone caller. So go ahead, caller.
Hey, what's up, CA, I guess. I don't think one of the things your guests they're not touching on is government also, and the passage of this new bill, they also implemented a tax on bunker fuel, diesel, high and low sulfur diesel, a 6 cents tax on bunker fuels. So now these, let's look at shipping vessels. When these same vessels, let's say, for instance, Betty Gate, I don't know if it's still around. I'm just using it as an example. When they come to receive fuel in Nassau, they now got to pay an additional 6 cents onto that. So if they take in a couple 100,000 gallons of diesel, you think they're going to absorb that new tax? And also, too, let's also remember that when this government first came and implemented a tax on boat registration by over 1,000% on new registration, existing registration, and you had to get a special license just to drive your trailer to pull your boat to and from the water.
True.
So this government, I mean, I don't know what's with them in the maritime industry, but they hitting it hard.
I agree with the caller with the bunker fuel, especially. A lot of boats, when they can, they find the best price, and that price might not be in this country or the next country. It might be the one, further afield. Some people could wait for fuel. So instead of you having some money, you get no money by pricing people out. So,
and that's the biggest thing. I mean, these boats can't be consumers in our country if they're not here. And this is what's happening.
There you go. Let's go to the next caller quickly. Good morning, caller.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
Good, thank you. I can see you live on a boat.
Man, listen, I live on a boat.
Yeah, you done past the noon time, the meridian sun. How you doing?
Listen, I agree with the panel when it comes to regulations. The government, this is a sector that needs to be regulated properly, and the ease of doing business needs to be worked on, right? But when it comes to fees, I can tell you for a fact that these maritime boaters that are coming in, they're not paying their fair share. Yes, I understand that the marinas need to make money, but this is the Bahamas. When I tell you rate the Bahamas, it'll rate these guys. You get, like I said, it'd be so nice to have a panel on here that had some local charter guys.
Give me an example on how they rape, so I can have them respond.
Okay, so let me give you an example. Right now, since they've implemented these new fees, you will see, just go to YouTube and just put on there, import fees coming in, boaters coming into Bimini and having to pay this new fee. People will come in, you'll pay your charter license, and people will decline the fishing license. Sailboaters are the most cheap people you will ever meet. They eat off of our reef for breakfast, lunch, dinner. They leave their garbage everywhere they go. Now, when I say they leave their garbage, they're just contributing to our waste pile. They don't want to pay anything. They live off of the land. That's one. Two, let's put things into perspective. If the government needs to charge fees, we're Bahamians. All of us are here. We're Bahamians. We have taxes to pay. Let's just to put things into perspective. If you come to the Bahamas, and this happens all the time, you come to the Bahamas and you want to rent a vessel. Let's say you want to go ahead and charter a vessel over the Christmas holidays for a week. CA, what do you think a 120-foot vessel is going to cost you for the week? Give me a figure quickly.
I don't know. Go ahead, finish. I want to get you.
You're talking. These boats are 6 figures now. 6 figures. On top of that, you have to pay for fuel. On top of that, you have to pay for tip. On top of that, you have to pay for food. Okay. Boats that come into Abaco on a daily basis. These guys are coming across in Freeman. They're putting $3,000, $4,000 worth of fuel to come in. They fill their coolers with fish and they leave. These guys that run marinas, they will tell you. Ask them to be honest on how many foreign boats in the Bahamas that are doing charters on a regular basis without paying fees. So they get a cruising permit. They come in and they set up shop. I can take you to Abaco now, and I can take you to every marina in Abaco.
Thank you, caller.
And point out a foreign vessel that is basically operating illegally.
Thank you, caller. Before we go to you, so I just want to say, it sounds to me just like, first of all, let's be careful when we define all crew people. Like the text tell me, don't talk about all taxi drivers like that. I talk about the Robinson Crusoe family who was eating lobster while I was in lockdown in my house, and the things that people get away with. However, we're talking about culture, right? People cruise, people live on boats, people move through the world on boats for a particular culture. I don't think it's appropriate or accurate to denigrate them in that way without understanding the culture. It's just like y'all break the law, right? Y'all buy the scooter to create a third lane. The problem isn't that he bought the scooter to create a third lane. The problem is a lack of enforcement. And I would say the same thing about the cruising industry, right?
Correct.
Where the enforcement elements to ensure that we're collecting the taxes, to ensure that people are doing what they ought to do.
I can say for myself, I've personally called the port department a number of times when I've seen vessels who, one, I knew shouldn't have a charter license just based on their size, because as I worked as a yacht agent and dealt with the port department a number of times, I always understood that we wanted to protect a particular class size of vessel, because Bahamians could have that size vessel, and so this vessel should not actually have a charter license and operate in that sense. I'd call the department and say, hey, here's a particular vessel that's in my marina. I can see that they're going out on a daily basis with different guests, so they must be chartering. Can you send your people here? So now that's then turned over to the port department, and it's up to them to then enforce their laws. So we know for a fact, like the caller said, that there are individuals out there that are breaking the law. But I can, and I'll hand this over to Khalil, I can tell you that individuals who are on these private yachts, a captain does not want to lose his license, his livelihood, and his job over doing something illegal if he was to get detained by the Defense Force. And Defense Force comes into my marina multiple times a week to do random checks. They do it in the harbor. Now, whether or not they do it throughout the wider Bahamas.
All of our marinas.
Yeah.
I can tell you for a
can't say
fact.
that because I don't know what their manpower is. But we do have an issue with enforcement of laws, and so you will have some individuals who will break rules in any industry if they see that no one's enforcing. So there is that I know, and I've worked in this business, like I said, 20 odd years, and most of the captains that I know have been coming here at that time. They won't do it.
Let's do a compare and contrast now. Before we go.
Compare and contrast?
The prices.
So, if you're talking about other countries, most of the Caribbean countries that support yachting, they have an entry fee. But like the other caller asked, anchorage fees and all of the other fees that are broken out, they don't have. So
Right.
that's where I think that we're pushing ourselves into.
So one of the recommendations would be more competitive with the region, fee structure.
Competitive and combine it. At least
Yeah,
Remember,
Flat-
these
flat fee.
boats that come in, they're paying VAT on everything and buying local products, despite what many people think that they have hidden storage, freezers and all that, which is total nonsense.
Yeah.
They're going to the grocery stores every day and shopping.
Or importing
and
their goods.
they don't reclaim any of their VAT or anything else. They don't get any of that back. All that money is left here.
Yep.
And I know even to the case of the fishermen.
Can they reclaim it, or is it
No,
considered?
they don't.
can't-
There's no
No structure.
No, and
structure for that.
But
now.
hold on, there's a structure for reclaiming VAT. The question is this a service consumed in country? You can only
No.
reclaim VAT.
Not on the yacht.
Okay, so
don't know anybody
here's a
that
quick comparison, Mr. Newry, for you from the article Marinas Seek Mercy with Boating-Related Food Sales Off 20%, Nassau Tribune, 27th of January of this year. And here we go. Mr. Maury also told this newspaper that marina occupancies in the southern Bahamas have fallen by as much as 60%, while those for central Bahamas, including New Providence, are off by an average 30%. He goes on to say in the article, the fact is the U.S. Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands have increased 40%. Turks and Caicos has increased 83%. And we, the Bahamas, have gone down 10%. Southern Bahamas down 60%. So
In
that's
some
a-
cases, yeah.
Yeah, in some cases, that's a comparison.
And I'm talking about, in the marinas and stuff. I mean, obviously there's boats anchoring out, which we have no control over, but we don't look at that from people like Obi and myself, we can only base our statistics on what our occupancy is. So this is as an association of 50 marinas, 70 allied members, which are primarily Bahamian businesses. This is the information we can get from each other.
I'd like to thank you for all that. We have again Peter Maury, we have Obiama Knowles, and Khalil Bethel. Thank you very much for joining us today. You were able to give us some insight on what are the concerns, right? But this is Guardian Radio AM with CA Newry. Have a wonderful day.